Welcome to Fowl Play, the sequel to the Nut Heist. In the Nut Heist, the adventure focused on the forces of the Kingdom of Acorna. In this installment, the adventure revolves around the Black Eastern Chipmunk Squad, known as the Becks, the Delta Force of the Chipmunk Kingdom of Doosan, and their newest member, Elgar. Sit back and enjoy the adventure, for who knows what will happen in the woods when foul play is involved. Fowl Play by Trisha M. Wilson, Episode 12, Chapter 10, Heading Home. 3 days after the children were safely found and returned to their parents, Jasna and Perun were sitting high above the crowd that had gathered for King Ulrich's speech.
I am happy to announce that a peace treaty has been agreed upon by the Kingdom of Acorna and the Blevins United Confederation. This new peace will allow both of our kingdoms to flourish and grow in mutually beneficial ways, while also respecting each other's space and privacy. The full terms of the treaty will be published later this week, but know that it is the best for all who live within our two borders. May the peace we have forged here bring us all many happy times in the future,
King Ulrich said as he concluded his speech. The crowd waved their paws in the air and cheered. None had wanted war, and all were happy peace had been reached, especially after the incident with the children. Watching the crowd carefully, Jasna was unsurprised at the reaction. Few people in this world like conflict, and the longer a people had been at peace, the less they wanted to leave that peace for war. "When are we leaving?" Perun asked, coming to the correct conclusion that to be leaving very soon because their job of observation was done. "Tonight," Jasna replied. "I've booked us the night bunny sleigh. We'll get back very late, but it is better for us not to hang around too long."
Do we know when the Blevins are flying back?
"In an hour or so. They are all anxious to get home and share the good news with their own peoples. I also believe the children will be starting their punishment for leaving their chaperone and getting lost in the forest the second they arrive," Jasna said, still scanning the crowd before her. Perun followed her gaze but didn't take in the sights.
That reminds me. How do you think Eld's doing training the new kid?
"Elgar?" Jasna said. "His name is Elgar, and Eld knows better than to disappoint me."
"But do you think Elgar can do it?"
Perun asked. "Be one of us? Yes. I think he has more heart than most, and while it may take some time, he could become one of the best," Jasna said confidently as she turned to leave the branch. "Yes, I think he'll do fine." "Are you sure you want to leave so soon?" Lucina asked Tesney as her group got ready to return home. "We'd be happy to have you stay for as long as you would like." "Thank you for the invitation, but it is time for us to leave," Tesney responded. "The children are anxious to get home and see their friends, and we have other council business which must be attended to." Across the yard, Ulrich was talking to Eluned.
"It was a pleasure to meet you, your husband, and your charming daughter. I don't think I've ever seen a child so interested in politics in my life," Ulrich said.
"Yes, she will be a great leader when she grows up. Thank you for your warm hospitality, and I look forward to our future meetings. Those, one can only hope, will have less excitement than this conference did," Eluned said smoothly.
"Yes, we can only hope,"
Ulrich responded. "All right, gang, it's time to go," Arwell yelled at his group. Waiting until everyone started to get into flying formation, he turned to Ulrich and Lucina. "Thank you for everything you have done for us. I, for one, will never forget your efforts to find my children. I hope to see you soon, my new friends." "Know you are always welcome here any time you would like," Lucina said. "It was wonderful to meet you and your children."
"Have a safe and swift flight home," Ulrich said.
Arwell nodded in response and took his position at the front of the group.
"Take off in 3, 2, 1, go!"
In 4 lines of 2, the group gracefully glided into the air, heading home after a long conference and a day and a half of worry. "Do you think we will see them again?" Lucina asked Ulrich. "I know that we both said we would, but that is almost something you have to say as someone leaves." Will we really, though, see them again?
I think we will see Arwell and his family, but not Elined and hers. I don't know if they really like anyone who is not part of their group,
Ulrich said thoughtfully as he watched the last glimpses of the group fly away. Silence unfolded as they waited a few more minutes before they turned as one and re-entered the palace. Tired but proud of himself, Elgar followed Eld into the Beck's headquarters. Elgar thought about putting his bag down right inside of the doorway, but Eld's words stopped that idea.
Put your things in your bedroom, get cleaned up, and I will meet you in the dining room in 1 hour.
Yes, sir, Elgar mumbled, dragging his feet upstairs. Once he finally made it to his room, Elgar really wanted to lay on his bed and sleep. But his stomach growled loudly, reminding him that he hadn't eaten all day, and that food really did sound like a good idea. Turning toward his bathroom for a nice bath, Elgar swore that the moment dinner was done, he would come back to his room and sleep. Eld quickly cleaned up and entered the dining room early in order to talk to his friends without Elgar present. Sitting at the table, Eld felt the looks of the others as they tried to gauge what type of mood he was in. "So?" Norling said, breaking the ice. "How did it go?"
"Surprisingly well,"
Eld said. There was an exhale of relief at his words. "What do you mean by that?" Isidore asked suspiciously.
"He listens well, can follow directions, and picks up the different skills fairly quickly. After I gave him the test, he only needed a little retraining. Much less than I would have expected when we started. He isn't too bad when you get to know him,"
Eld finished. "But will he fit into the group?" Orvar asked.
"With time and patience, he will adapt fine," Eld said firmly. "I predict that he has exactly what it takes to be as good as any of us."
His words made the others silent in thought. Breaking the silence, Eld asked,
"Jasna and Perun back?"
"No, but they should be back by tomorrow. The peace treaty was signed and the delegates left today," Norling said.
"How do you know that?"
Eld asked as Elgar entered the room. "Know what?" Elgar asked as he sat tiredly.
"That the peace treaty was signed,"
Eld said absently, looking at Norling for the answer to his question. "We got a letter from Jasna that the treaty was signed the day after the children were found," Norling said.
"Children? What do children have to do with any of this?"
Eld asked, confused. Norling sighed as if it should have been obvious. The Blevins delegation brought their children to the peace conference. A few days into the conference, the children were bored with politics and wanted to go to the festival the royals had set up. Then they got this idea that they should ditch their chaperone and wander into the woods alone. Once in the forest, they couldn't find their way out, and... Chapter 11. The Test. The next morning after breakfast, Eld and Elgar stood in front of Jasna's desk in her office. "I understand you have learned a lot about surviving in the forest," Jasna said, looking at Elgar. "Eld told me he is very pleased with your progress and believes you are able to pass any test I put to you. Do you also believe that, Elgar?"
"Yes, ma'am," Elgar said. "I worked real hard to learn everything Eld wanted to teach me."
"I'm glad to hear that, because in order to continue on your training with us, you must pass my test," Jasna said. "Are you ready?"
"Yes, ma'am."
"Good. This test consists of only one question, and that question is, when in the forest, what is the most fundamental rule we have to follow in order to have success?" Elgar opened his mouth and then closed it again, his mind racing to find the answer. Rule? Eld hadn't mentioned any rules, had he? Attempting to calm down, Elgar thought about his time in the forest. What had Eld taught him? Then the answer came to him in a flash of brilliance. Opening eyes he hadn't realized he had closed, Elgar said in a clear voice, "The most fundamental rule in the forest that we have to follow is to not let anyone know we are in the forest. We should walk in a way that doesn't let anyone know we are there. We should find food and water in a way which disguises our presence, and have a camp that is hidden when we are not there. When done correctly, nobody will have known we were ever in the area." There was silence in the room as Elgar said his last words. Jasna looked at him as she considered his answer, not betraying any of her thoughts. Then she suddenly smiled and said, "Congratulations. You have answered correctly, and thus passed my test." Elgar sighed in relief and felt energetic with his happiness. "The next part of your training will occur in a little while. For now, however, be content with the knowledge that you are one step closer to your goal." "Thank you, Jasna." Turning around, Elgar looked at Eld and said a heartfelt, "Thank you." Eld dipped his head and said, "You're very welcome." From behind him, Jasna said, "You may leave now. This afternoon we are conducting some fighting training that might interest you, but right now is free time. Do whatever you want during this time." "Yes, ma'am." Elgar left the room, being careful to shut the door quietly behind him before he went to his room. While he looked forward to seeing the training in the afternoon, right now Elgar planned to write his parents. Yesterday he'd received their letter to him full of news from home, and he couldn't wait to reply back with all his exciting news. Pulling out the letter he'd received, he glanced at it before starting to write. "Dear Ma and Pa, I just got to read your letter yesterday because I've been out on secret spy training for the last week and a half. I learned how to survive in the forest all by myself. I know it will be a surprise to you, but I even survived a night alone. I was scared at first that I'd be killed by giants or some other raging beast, but nothing like that came out during the night. I was kind of disappointed because at least if I'd seen one of those beasts, I'd have a great story to tell y'all. I haven't spent lots of time with my fellow spies while at HQ, but they seem okay. This one guy, Eld, who trained me, he's real nice, and I can't wait until you can come and meet everyone. I don't know when that'll be, though. You see, Jasna's a little touchy about people knowing where HQ is, but I'll try to arrange a visit real soon. I miss everyone real bad, but I'm also having the time of my life. Give my love to the kids, and I'll send presents as soon as I can. Love, Elgar." Foul Play was written by Trisha M. Wilson and read by R.L. Ferguson. For comments or compliments, just head over to Colbyjack.net and look for our contact page. Foul Play is released under a Creative Commons non-commercial no derivatives license. Share it with whoever you want, just don't sell it or change it. Have a nice day. Foul Play is now available in ebook format from Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and Smashwords. While you're there, check out our other titles such as The Nut Heist, the prequel to Foul Play, or Nightmare, a tale of obsession and murder. Links to all her wonderful titles are available at our homepage at Colbyjack.net.